So good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, dear participants. So today we are organizing this question and answer session with His Excellency, Ambassador of Uzbekistan, Javlon Vakhabov. We are very pleased to do that. This time only Canadian companies are joining us, and we are doing only for Canada and Uzbekistan. So we have a wonderful moderator, Michele Small, a financial and business development consultant for Eurasian countries, the former North American director of the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. We will also have Alexander Antonov, a board member of CERBA for Uzbekistan, who will give us some updates on behalf of this chapter. And we scheduled to include, you see in our program, a wide range of industries we will be covering, and companies from many industries are joining us right now. So feel free to ask any question. There will be 4 companies presenting. Others will be listening and asking questions. I think we are all set. And the last thing, that we are recording this event, it will be published. And please keep your microphones off and your videos on. Okay, so here we are, and use chat also for networking and the question and answer session. We are set to go. Michele, the stage is yours.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm the afternoon, you're the morning, and Tashkent are the evening. And I'm so delighted that I was asked by Marina and CERBA to moderate this, what I'm hoping to be really interesting and dynamic discussion. And as Marina also mentioned before we started, I used to be the director and head of the EBRD in North America. So I had a great pleasure and honor to work with His Excellency Ambassador Vakhabov, who, of all the ambassadors I worked with, is so dynamic, and he rushes around and does so much. His business development, his raising of the awareness of Uzbekistan as a destination for North American FDI had me astonished and a little jealous, because he sort of outran me 10 to 1, and I, in everything I was trying to do. But it was truly a great pleasure. I miss so much working with him, so I'm very glad to be here again. And again, just with Canadian companies, that's fantastic. As a destination, what can I say about Uzbekistan? If I look at the numbers and the comments of the development international finance institutions, it speaks for itself. They all say that the reforms being undertaken by the country are quite ambitious, but quite achievable. They're all complimentary on the progress so far of the reforms, and the fact that Uzbekistan has kept, as we say, its foot to the pedal. And they all forecast GDP growth above 6% this year. So they quibble over what is after the 6. Is it 4? Is it 3? Is it 2? And they're complimentary on the fact that the inflation has been fallen. It's headed in the right direction. It's fallen from 14.7% in June 2020 to 11% in June this year. Reforms in digitalization, SOE reform, climate change. You should have noted that Uzbekistan made a commitment to reach carbon neutrality in power generation by 2050. The capital markets, some superb work being done to reform that. And I think that's key, because you need a strong capital market for international investors to be able to perform. And also, I think very credibly, substantial progress has been made to transform the cotton industry, which brings, again, the sectors we're going to talk a bit about today: agriculture, tech. They're all places people should, keep an eye on. So my advice would be sit up and listen today. Opportunities exist in all the sectors that we will discuss. I'd like to see diverse FDI in a country, so I'm rooting for much more Canadian participation. And I'm sure the ambassador will expand more on his speech. For now, I'm going to turn it over to colleagues of CERBA in Uzbekistan So first Alexander and then Mirodil. Over to you.
Good evening, everybody, Your Excellency, and all the present. We are very glad to join this very important event, and I would like to say that our company, B2 Gold Corporation, started investing in this country, in Uzbekistan, due to the very incredible reforms of President Mirziyoyev, who opened the mining sector, strategic metals as gold and uranium to foreign investors. And B2 Gold started investing 3 years ago and increasing the amount of investments every year. This year it's $5 million into exploration on the terms of risk, just exploration with some hope to discover new gold properties in the country. And this year was also very remarkable because there were several events. His Excellency Ambassador knows very well that our VP, Vice President Neil Reader, was an international observer a few weeks ago on the presidential election in this country. We had very important meetings with, in the top level, with, for example, with Senator Safayev, with the top people in the Ministry of Justice, and that visit was very successful. And his role as international observer was also recognized in the country. Then, just recently, 2 weeks ago, very important international forum took place in Tashkent, mining forum, international mining forum. And our company was very active. There were 2 presentations of Neil Reader, VP, and myself. And it was echoed and was also some good response. And everything was sent to the attention of CERBA, Gilles, Catherine, and everybody. So that's it. And I would like also to introduce our new colleague in CERBA in Uzbekistan, Mirodil, Mirakhmedov, who is with us now. You can see him. Maybe he will also tell a few words. Please, Mirodil.
Good day, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Thank you very much, Alexander, again, for giving the word for me. I'm very glad to be here as well. My name is Mirodil Mirakhmedov, and I just newly joined to CERBA activities in Uzbekistan. And we would like to expand Uzbekistan-Canadian relationships, specifically in business side. And with the assistance of such companies, as Dr. Antonov mentioned, as B2 Gold, who is one of the important members of CERBA, and already conducting activities in Uzbekistan, we would like to also to attract the other companies to Uzbekistan to show the innovative solutions to boost further Uzbekistan's economy. So with that, I just would like to add that the support of His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, Mr. Vakhabov, will be very highly appreciated, and we will do our best to strengthening the further relations between our countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mirodil. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you all to His Excellency, Ambassador Javlon Vakhabov. Thank you, Ambassador. Your comments.
Before I jump in, I would appreciate it if you could just introduce so the entire audience, in particular the industries they represent, so that I would like to be very straightforward in my comments.
Okay, Marina, can you do that because you have the names of all the participants? I can tell the companies, or I'll say the company and then the person can raise their hand. Okay, so we have Valmetal, which is an agri-business equipment company. We have Positron,
Yes,
Ellie, which is an IT company. Provalcid, grain feeding, and Deflect, which I think is IT as well. Marina knows the others. So those four are going to give short presentations after you have spoken. And then there's some other companies online that will listen and then ask questions as they come in. But I think there's a mix between agri-IT companies.
Yes,
Marina?
I would also add aviation, mining, IT, telecommunication, transportation, financial industry, tourism, fabric production, and textile. These are the strengths of Canadian sectors, and in specifics from Quebec.
We also have Sobirovs law firm representative today, the founding partner and member CERBA, and also Shirali from the trading company. They trade in equipment for various industries.
So I do appreciate the time you all took joining today's video call. We've actually arrived the day before yesterday, and actually I began my visit to Ottawa. So with several meetings at the Global Affairs, in particular with my counterparts and colleagues at the Canadian Global Affairs, people who are in charge of trade and investments here in Canada. And we've touched upon a wide range of issues, but mostly focusing on what kind of opportunities the Canadian businesses might offer to my country, as we are continuing to open up to the entire world since late 2016. So when the current president was elected and later came to power with his own reform agenda. And I should also note that over the last years, since he took his office, a great deal of work has been done, in particular in terms of liberalizing the national economy. As you, Michele, rightly noted, over the last years, we've been able to accomplish the tasks mostly aimed at reducing the state share in the economy. Touching upon actually all areas, in particular, the cotton industry that makes us pretty well known across the globe. As we remain in the top 10 cotton producing countries. Again, as a vivid testament of these administrations' commitment to reducing the state share in the economy. So I can exemplify what we've been able to do with the cotton industry that has been already transferred to the private sector, and the government is no longer part of this industry. Actually, this decision has been driven not by someone's desire to please someone even abroad. It's mostly based on what this administration outlined from day one, making such kind of industries that made a foundation of the monocrop economies that Uzbekistan used to be in the past, and transferring it to the mostly market-oriented economy. And at this moment, I just wanted to reiterate 100% of the entire industry so is currently owned by the private sector. And it also, I mean, this decision also goes in line with our own priorities, so to eradicate the child and forced labor. So in the cotton fields, so the issues that we've been criticized for decades, primarily by the Western countries, including the United States. And at this moment, as you are well aware, so both of them actually have gone. So we've completely eradicated the use of child labor in the cotton industries. It was, by the way, acknowledged by the international labor organizations with regard to the forced labor. Last year, the International Labor Organization, while monitoring the harvesting campaign, found more than 96% of the cotton fields free from forced labor. Again, comparing to what we used to have in the past, just prior to 2016, imagine more than 6 million people have been forced to go to the cotton fields just to pick it up during the cotton harvesting season. And of course, much more should be accomplished, in particular with remaining those 4%. But in the meantime, I just wanted to reassure how my government remains very much committed to its international obligations, and of course meeting the high-level labor standards that we've been able to introduce to our laws and regulations. And by the way, the use of forced labor is currently punishable. So regardless of the rankings and position, any official might be brought into justice and put into jail for another 5 years. In these terms, I would say that the industry is currently offering so many opportunities to foreign businesses operating in the country and to those who are just taking a look at that part of the world, in particular at Uzbekistan, that, as I said, remains very much committed to ensuring labor rights. And of course, this kind of achievements affected the textile industry that is currently booming in the country. And I believe today we're joined by those who are interested in exploring opportunities that the Uzbekistan textile industry might offer to them. So just prior to the pandemic, the total volume of textile products that we've been able to export abroad amounted almost to $2.5 billion. And the government has a task to increase this number up to $7.5 billion by 2025. Very ambitious goal to achieve, but pretty doable in our understanding, as we are exploring new markets, new destinations that our entrepreneurs are currently reaching out. So in particular, with respect to Canada, just I would like to bring your attention to the latest updates that I was provided by the Uzbekistan statistics authorities. Just imagine in 2020, the volumes of bilateral trade increased tenfold, never seen before, amounting to almost $142 million. And in favor, of course, of Uzbekistani industries. So we've exported a lot to the Canadian market. And what actually the Canadian companies exported to the Uzbekistani market amounts less than $14 million. So in these terms, the gap is very huge, and this gap, of course, should be, in my understanding, filled. By your proposals, the opportunities that you might offer to our industries, in particular to the textile industry. And one more topic that actually I raised while speaking to my counterparts at the global affairs, people who are dealing with trade, was related to FTA, so foreign trade agreement. I think it's a high time at least to launch our bilateral discussions over this agreement, as we are witnessing an uprise in our bilateral trade. Beside that, one more topic that we've been discussing with the global affairs officials is related to air flight agreement that my government, would like to conclude with Canada. So actually, it has been a while, almost 30 years passed, since we've established our diplomatic ties. By the way, almost 3 years passed since the Canadians have been enjoying visa-free regime while traveling to Uzbekistan. A focus group here in Canada might be those Muslim minorities who are currently residing in Canada. As far as I know, more than 1 million, at least more than 1 million Muslims are residing here, people who are perceiving Uzbekistan as a must-visit place and pretty well known among the Muslim nations, people who are actually considering my home country as a second Mecca. So in these terms, this kind of accomplishments might be serving as a win-win deal. So and beside that, the issue we've been discussing with my colleagues here in Ottawa was also related to agriculture. As you are well familiar with the ag industry in Uzbekistan, so currently agriculture itself generates almost 19% of our GDP. So beside that, almost 16 million people in Uzbekistan are residing in rural areas, and more than 60%, of our population are engaged in the agriculture. It's a sector that has been touched upon by this ongoing huge privatization program, launched by the government in particular, the cotton industry that I mentioned about. But in the meantime, as we are modifying our agriculture, there's a huge need for advanced and very sophisticated technologies that might actually enable the growth, the crop growth in the industry. As you may know, the country, in particular the Uzbekistan ag, is currently suffering from the shortage of water. That is, of course, affecting the industry very seriously. So in these terms, the ideas or any advanced expertise and best knowledges that your companies might offer to us will be very much welcomed. And the issues that, again, I brought my colleagues' attention here in Ottawa yesterday. Again, back to the agriculture. As I said, textile industry. What exactly our entrepreneurs would like to gain while cooperating with their counterparts abroad? They want to be a part of these global supply chains that are serving in particular for the best benefits of the Canadians, as we are seeing and eyewitnessing actually the pretty challenging times in that part of the world, as we are surrounded by other major players affected by restrictions that so many Western countries so imposed, I think it would be appropriate, and it's very high time just to take a look at what kind of products so the Uzbekistani entrepreneurs might offer, in particular to the Canadian customers. By the way, I've just missed to mention, so currently Uzbekistan is the country with more than 35 potential customers. And we are actually creating more than half of the entire population of the region of Central Asia. And the country that is inhabited by more than 20 million people who are the youth under the age of 30. So in these terms, so the labor itself is pretty cheap. So these people are pretty well skilled and well qualified, I would say, and these people are pretty adjustable to absorb, the knowledges that you might share in terms of running these very sophisticated technologies that you might offer to us. So back to agriculture. One more issue I've touched upon while talking to my colleagues here in Ottawa is related to the cattle breeding. As you may know, so we are consuming a lot of meat. And more than 65%, almost 70% of all the meat that we are consuming supplied from abroad. And among these suppliers, so the countries that you are well familiar, Belarus, Russia itself, so Kazakhstan, so Mongolia, and I believe so with the meat that the Canadian producers are offering to the entire world. I believe you might actually feel this gap as well. So there is a huge, there are huge opportunities in these terms. And beside that, I wanted to also to share with some statistics that I was given today early in the morning. In particular, within the last 9 months of 2021, Uzbekistan has increased the volumes of meat that we are importing from abroad up to almost 30%. Just imagine. And by the way, among those countries that I've named, you may add also Ukraine and Moldova. So in these terms, so the Canadian meat producers might benefit from these kind of opportunities that we are currently offering offering to you. And in this regard, while speaking to the ag officials, from the Canadian government, I also discussed with them the veterinary certificates that might be actually issued by the Uzbekistan respective authorities. Another industry is mostly related to mining sector, and I'm very pleased to see you, Mr. Antonov, in a good shape. Actually, I did have a wonderful meeting yesterday with Ambassador Reader and his entire team here in Ottawa. And it's pretty remarkable. To let you know that over the last 2.5 years since we've signed this agreement on exploration of 3 gold deposits in Uzbekistan, in particular in the Navoya region. So this company has already invested almost $5 million. So the areas that is still opening up to the entire world. And by the way, this company, B2Gold itself, has become the first among others. Tiptoeing this previously known as a closed, very isolated industry in the country. So, and as you may know, so the government has announced its huge privatization program that I mentioned so above, in particular by developing more than 70 PPP projects, amounting almost $6 billion. And beside that, this privatization program, as I said before, aimed at reducing the state's share in the economy. So, over the coming years, so such industries as mining, in particular, so Navoi mining so plant and Almalik, another mining plant, are actually supposed to be privatized. So the state is going just to share, is going to reduce its share in these particular industries. Banking and finance, healthcare, chemical industry, so automobile industry, so air transportation, so road transportation, and many other areas that the government wants so to be privatized. So for the Canadian companies, it might be a great opportunity just to at least to take a look what kind of industries so the government is offering to foreign businesses, to just inviting them to take part in this privatization process. Regarding one more industry that yes, as we are joined today, so by businesses who are dealing with labor migration, issues. Just wanted to let you know that yesterday I met with the Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, so the leadership of this Canadian agency. And the key issues that we discussed is mostly was mostly related to the excessive labor force in Uzbekistan that we are, I mean, this government, this administration in Uzbekistan wants to reallocate, so redistribute across the globe. And in these terms, we are closely working with Sobirovs law firm, a person who has been very much supportive of my government's efforts to bringing very skilled, pretty well qualified, so excessive labor force, workforce in Uzbekistan to Canada. It's pretty complicated, not so easy, but I would say over the last years, since this administration came to power, we've been able to make some progress. In particular, working together with the Russian provinces. We've actually reached out to most of those more than 80 provinces in Russia, just again agreeing on terms and conditions, so that the Uzbekistan and labor migrants should meet the current needs there. And in this regard, so the government has announced a decision to establish 14 training educational centers across the country. So covering actually all 14 provinces we do have, and these labor forces are trained by the government free of charge. Just again meeting the needs of those final destinations, the countries that are actually going to host and provide this labor force with the job that they are looking for. We've been able to do the same, working with the UAE, Turkey, South Korea, Japan, and just recently Poland. So a member of the European Union just recently approved its its decision to attract, to hire the Uzbekistani labor force there. One more topic that again I'm presuming might be interesting to all of you is related to the air transportation. As you may know, previously known as the state-owned company Uzbekistan Airlines, is actually going to be privatized. And moreover, over the last years, we've been able to bring to the air carriage market other private entities that are currently operating in the country. So that just to address the monopoly that this state-owned company has been positioning over the last 25, almost 30 years. And what actually it might mean to the Canadian businesses. As we are allowing in the country, the business, the operation of business aviation in the country, I believe there might be a need for the equipment, for the aircrafts that are assembled here in Canada. In particular, I still remember my great tour to the Bombardier plant here in Canada. So it might be also considered by the Uzbekistani government or those private entities appearing in the market, just again taking a look at those aircraft that the Canadian industries might offer to us. So in general, these were key issues that I've raised and discussed it. With your government officials. Given the fact that our time is limited, I would like to ask Michele just address to me any questions that this audience and our distinguished guests might have. So please feel free. Any questions that you would like me to answer will be very much welcome.
Thank you very much for that very comprehensive overview. You touched on the labor shortages, unemployment. So I would like to ask Francis Tourigny if he's online to comment on this.
I'm here.
Hi,
hello,
Francis. Over
hello.
to you.
Yes, thank you very much, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here today. Let me introduce myself. I'm Francis Tourigny. I'm a partner and co-founder of EXEO Attorneys. We are a law firm specialized in business immigration. So we mostly deal with investors and entrepreneurs who want to immigrate to Canada. But also we help companies from here to bring foreign workers, to bring in foreign workers in Canada. And God knows it can be rather technical and quite complicated. In the context of the current labor shortage, there has been a lot of political pressures on the Canadian government and also on the Quebec government to help bringing foreign workers faster and in a more simplified way. But still, I mean, what I want to do today is maybe just 5-10 minutes just to do a brief overview of the process to bring in foreign workers, and be happy to answer any question you might have. So as I said, there's been a lot of political pressures to simplify the process to bring in foreign workers, because if you want to come here to work in Canada, you basically, it's rather technical. You need to respect certain requirements. And one of the first requirement, of course, is to have a valid job offer to come work in Canada. And the valid job offer has to respect certain requirements. So a job description, and also it needs to respect certain guidelines of salaries regarding the salary. And the normal process to come here to work in Canada It's called the LMIA. You basically need to get what we call a labor market impact assessment. So essentially what that means is that, you know, the general process is that you need to prove that you could not hire any Canadian. So you need to advertise a job for a certain time. It can take months and months. So it's a rather complex process. So that's why the government introduced certain exceptions from which, you know, Uzbek citizen can certainly take advantage of. So there are some. Yes, please go ahead.
Francis, we will have limited time. You see the companies are lining up. Very interesting, your experience of working with Quebec companies.
Yes.
In what industries, and what is the chapter with Montreal, with whom are we partnering to move the things going? Maybe 2 more minutes, and Francis, could you please elaborate?
Yeah, no problem. What I wanted to say is that there are many opportunities for Uzbek citizen. There are many exceptions to the normal process. So for example, if you are a tech worker and you want to come here work in Canada, there's a fast track process. You know, we can, sometimes we get the work permits in about 4 weeks. So in about 4 weeks, Uzbek citizen can come work here in Canada if you're in the tech sector. But also, you know, there's been some additions recently in the simplified process in Quebec. So, you know, baking, restoration, construction industry. Also, if you have, I have the list here. But if you are also in another, if you are a chef, if you are a cook, if you work in the construction industry, and in many, many others, there's a list of 70 professions. There's a simplified process. So now it comes, you know, into a matter of a few weeks to get the work permit. So I guess my message is there's many opportunities for Uzbek citizens to come work here in Canada. And I'll be happy to answer any question you might have.
Yes. Well, we are setting the system, collaborating with universities and language schools who could, at affordable price, to teach, and this would be a good system to bring people here to work. Okay, yes, Michele.
Yes, thanks. Can we move to Valmetal, Andrey, for your presentation? And everyone keep in mind that we have limited time, so short and sharp and sweet, please. Thank you.
Yeah, mostly questions. We know your product very well. Questions and answers. This is the format of the event.
And yeah, so let's make it as interactive as we can.
Hello again, colleagues. First of all, thanks to CERBA for organizing such kind of event. It's a great opportunity to see all of you. So my name is Andrey Semin. I'm representing the Valmetal company. It's a Canadian company. I'm a territory manager located in Moscow region, responsible for Valmetal business in Russia, but also on the Central Asian Republic like Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan. So briefly saying about my company, we are working on agriculture sector, and even more detailedly, we work with the cows. So we always try to be close to cows, and probably you can see there even now behind my back. So we are always together. As a company, we are producer, and we are producing equipment in three main segments of the business. First of all, it's feeding equipment, how to feed our cows on our farms. Yeah, it could be really different. We can feed them really simple way, manually, or it could be fully automated system or even robotic system. Yeah, we can decide together with customer what kind of system we can provide. The segment number 2. So if we turn a cow by another side and have a look, so I hope all of us understand that cow produce not only milk but also manure. Yeah, unfortunately. So it is quite a serious volume daily, so we should handle it, and after collecting all this manure from the farm, we should decide what to do with this volume of manure. And segment number 3 is actually wasting management. So as a company, basing on our previous experience, we we are quite positive that one of the best way what to do with manure is to produce bedding material to be used on a farm. So it's a kind of recycling system. Yeah. I would not say we are really deep on Uzbekistan yet. No, on the 2021, we closed only one deal actually with Uzbekistan company. So my appeals or questions or whatever we can call it. So number one is what about dairy production in Uzbekistan? Because I have a knowledge gaps here. Yeah, so I don't know clear current situation right now. And moreover, I would like to know what is the plan. Are we going to grow if Uzbekistan, if there is a plan to grow up any figures like liters of milk, of numbers of cows, etc. And question number two is what do you think about new technologies on dairy farming, especially on the sectors I mentioned, like feeding cows and manual handling? So what is your vision? Is there a place for such kind of technologies on the Uzbekistan market?
Thank you, Andrey. Ambassador, would you like to address the two questions? Background on dairy production and vision for technology in this field.
So as I said before, any advanced technologies that might enable the crop growth in any industry will be very much welcomed. But regarding the dairy, as I said, the cattle breeding, there's a huge lag. And in these terms, the reason why I raised this issue yesterday while speaking to the ag officials here in Ottawa. It was not only just meat consumption, it was also about dairy. And in these terms, we should, as a first step that should be taken by, I believe, by the Canadian authorities, is that the Canadian government should be provided with the veterinary certificates, so that the Canadian authorities, Canadian businesses, might have at least the permission to launch the export of the cattle breeding, in particular. That might be meant for the dairy production in Uzbekistan. So again, I'm not sure about what kind of technologies you are talking about. Again, if you could just share your thoughts or ideas just affecting the production itself. So we'll be more than happy to have separate discussions on these issues. So again, I stand ready to have such discussions virtually. So with you, Andrey, later.
Okay, thank you very much, Javlon.
Thank you. Moving to Positron.
Yes, telecommunication industry, innovative technology to connect remote areas. Yes, Mr. Weiser, please, we just have maybe 3 minutes for each participant. Questions and answers mostly.
Thank you. Bandwidth is very important for education and for economic growth. Every 10% increase yields a 1.2% GDP increase. Since Uzbekistan has a large rural area, we have one of our products, because we specialize in increasing the bandwidth available in copper, we have very long lines, telephone lines to rural areas. And it's not economical to bring fiber to those farm areas. We have a product that can multiply the bandwidth very easily on the existing lines and stabilize the lines so communications are better. That could be very useful to Uzbekistan. And I'd like to, and we also have for metropolitan areas where you do have fiber availability to buildings, but they can't distribute it easily because of the old wiring in buildings. we have another product that enables you to get even gigabit speeds for government buildings, residential, business, and so forth. So how we would like to introduce those to Uzbekistan. It has a need. I'd like to work with local partners, and you may have some suggestions.
Yes, Mr. Weiser, we already presented your technology to Uzbek Telecom. We will have a meeting with them, and I will be informing Ambassador and Sherzod about that. I would also say that here, right, in Ottawa, we have a very strong telecommunication cluster, lots of companies. They are, well, the strongest maybe in the whole Canada, and we would like to develop collaboration between Uzbekistan and Canada in this sector in specifics. Okay. Any comments or on telecom?
As I said, so the embassy stands ready to facilitate so your separate discussions with your counterparts in Uzbekistan, people who are representing both the state-owned companies and private entities as well. But in the meantime, you know, I believe well that this industry in Uzbekistan is being modified as well, along with others. We are, I mean, the private industries are very much welcomed. To enter the Uzbekistan telecommunication market, but in the meantime, actually, we're asking those who are offering their own technologies to meet the latest standards and achievements globally. The reason I'm raising this issue, just wanted to share with you what meeting I have had just recently in California, visiting Qualcomm HQ in San Diego. I believe you are well familiar with this cutting-edge company in America and in the world as well. And actually, this meeting, it was an eye-opening and very educational meeting. To me, in terms of understanding where, I mean, the entire telecommunication market is moving forward and what kind of challenges we are facing and what kind of technologies are currently considered as are pretty outdated. In particular, the fiber related technologies. To my great surprise, as I was told, fiber is a technology of yesterday. Instead of this, 5G is tiptoeing the telecommunication market. And it might be pretty arguable, but instead of, again, wasting a huge amount of money just to reach out those remote areas in the country by constructing these pipes along with the fiber inside. Nowadays it's pretty much costly and not meeting, I mean, the current stage, the current status where the entire telecommunication market is being developed. So in this regard, I would be very happy just to hear from you your thoughts. Not today, of course, as the time is very much limited, but we might have separate discussions. And I'm just eager and wondering about the technologies that you are offering just to get more knowledges in details. So that later, we'll reach out to our counterparts in Uzbekistan just to facilitate this meeting that you are requesting to arrange. Thank you.
Okay. Michele, let us introduce information technology sector and also artificial intelligence. I may shortly say that this is one of, again, the priorities we see for collaboration. We have lots of companies, Toronto-based, Montreal-based, Vancouver-based, and Alberta. And Canada was among the first ones elaborating artificial intelligence strategy. So we have lots of here skills to share with you. And we have a company, eQualitie. I didn't check if they're here, Dmitry. This is one of the examples, just shortly, and you may add more on information technology sector. If there is a demand, what programs can Canadian companies work with?
Let's leave time for the questions, please.
Yes,
Dmitry
hello.
from eQualitie.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, Dmitry, you have 2 minutes and mostly questions and answers.
All right, thank you. So yeah, my name is Dmitry Vitaliev. I'm the founding director of eQualitie. It's a Montreal-based high-tech firm. We have a mandate to develop cyber defensive technologies to protect and promote freedom of expression and association on the internet. One of these directions is a project that we call Deflect. It is a web security infrastructure protecting websites and various services from cyber attack. Been in operation for about 10 years. About 1 million people go through our network every day. We've developed, sophisticated machine learning technology for stopping various attacks. We also delve forensically into attacks, trying to figure out who is organizing them and maybe why. We help our clients with advocacy around these kinds of events. And we've been building partnerships around the world with ISPs, with IT resellers, now also looking into Uzbekistan. I'm happy to talk more about this later. My question, I guess, for the 2 minutes is the double taxation convention in place since 1999. We're not really sure which side of the partnership is supposed to pay taxes. We can't really find out good information on both sides are supposed to pay taxes on goods, on Canadian goods being sold by Uzbek resellers, for example.
These double taxation arrangements was actually another topic. I raised while meeting with the global affairs officials. As you may know, currently, our bilaterals and businesses are not covered by this agreement, as far as I know. And in these terms, again, my government stands ready to launch very substantive, detailed discussions with the Canadian authorities, how we actually could bring it into practice. What we do have right now is an agreement that was actually signed before Uzbekistan appeared on the international arena as an independent sovereign nation. The agreement that we've inherited from the Soviet Union. But in terms of how and in what extent this agreement might be applied to current foreign businesses operating in Uzbekistan, it's a great question. And in these terms, the issues that I raised, from day one, since my tenure started here, and now after this pause caused by the pandemic, we are getting back to our discussions, and hopefully we'll be able to make some progress in the years to come.
Okay, thank you.
I think we have two more companies, and if I can ask them to go one after the other and with their questions for the interest of time. Provalcid, I keep mispronouncing that. Ellie, finally get to you. And then we have Sobirovs law firm who would like to have a few words. They're a member of CERBA. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, CERBA team and everyone. Thank you for this meeting today. I represent Provalcid International, a company situated around a small town in Quebec. The name is Valmetal. So we have been working more than for 30 years in agricultural sector. We are producer, processor, and trader of organic agricultural commodities. So my question is about the stage of development of organic agricultural production in Uzbekistan, because literally this meeting is my, and particularly Provalcid, first step to build a kind of relationship with Uzbekistan, suppliers from Uzbekistan. So as our main activity is organic commodities, we are interested in to be informed about what we can do with building our supply chain with Uzbekistan exporters. Thank you.
What exact commodities you are producing here?
Especially, we are interested in corn, wheat, soybeans, oats. That means especially in every kind of grains and pulses. When I speak about pulses, that means different kind of lentils. And I know that in Uzbekistan you have a big production of lentils, as I know. Just I am not aware if you have some part of this production in organic.
To be frank, I do not have exact statistics of what we are consuming. Right now, and of course in what exact volumes. But I would like to bring your attention to another remaining challenge that the Uzbekistani farmers are currently facing, and it's mostly related to the animal food. As I said, we are still suffering from the shortage of water, and it's pretty challenging. So to allocate the lands where the animals might be fed. And as far as I know, we are importing a lot just to feed them. And in these terms, so any commercial proposals that you might offer to us, again, with respect to addressing the challenges challenges that we are currently facing in the country. And my suggestion would be, if you don't mind, again, for the sake of time, to get back to you, with our concrete proposals, and I would like to learn from you about these commodities, and of course the ways how you are going to supply these goods to that part of the world. Thank you.
Thank you a lot, Your Excellency.
And I believe your contacts are available, so that we can reach out to you.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And finally, Rahman, you wanted to have a few words.
Yes, thank you very much, Michelle. Your Excellency, dear colleagues, my name is Rahman Sobirov. I'm a managing lawyer of Sobirovs law firm in Toronto, and we deal with business and investor immigration matters. I want to touch base on two aspects of Uzbek-Canadian relationship that are related to my area. One is I've known Mr. Ambassador for many years now, and I can feel his energy to become and build the bridges between these two economies. On in our humble beginnings, as an Uzbek Canadian, I'm very excited to see many opportunities. One opportunity that we are using as a law firm at the moment is to create our business process outsourcing center in Tashkent, in one of the IT parks in Uzbekistan. I should note that there are many IT parks being built. The infrastructure is there, the high-speed internet is there, and the necessary specialists are there with English language capabilities. So we saw this opportunity, and we are, as we speak, we are interviewing many young and motivated individuals in Uzbekistan to become our so-called support office. So overall, I can see in the legal industry, in the legal services industry, almost 20% of law firms in Canada, they outsource their processes to India or the Philippines. So we want to open this area, this sector in Uzbekistan, and perhaps test it, experiment it with our processes. And then if that becomes a success, we will be happy to tell our experience to other colleagues in Canada. That's one aspect. And second aspect, the labor shortages in Canada. His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, mentioned that we were trying to attract and we were trying to persuade Canadian employers to consider hiring Uzbek specialists, welders, or labor workers. And the challenges we faced is one, once they get an LMIA, a positive LMIA from the government, the visa approval rate at the embassy level is suffering. Let's say statistics from the Warsaw embassy in Warsaw in Poland that oversees Uzbek applications, it's 98% refusal rate. So you can imagine the employer is getting a permission to bring the foreign worker, but if he chooses to bring a foreign worker from Uzbekistan, the chances of him being refused a visa is 98%. That should be addressed, and I kindly request Mr. Ambassador to raise this issue, and I believe he did in his communication with the Foreign Affairs, that this is something of an anomaly. It's not normal to have 98% of visa refusals for temporary visas, such as workers' visas. Okay, so I have to end here because I can talk for hours. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and we look forward to experimenting our office in Uzbekistan, and I'm sure it will be a success. Thank you.
Was one other question in the chat from Precious Talents. Is there any plan to cancel visa requirement on arrival for Canadians visiting Uzbekistan?
I think this person didn't hear me. The Canadians have been enjoying visa-free regime since 2019, if my month doesn't change me. So your citizens are free to come to Uzbekistan without any visa requirements. So in this regard, I would like
you can speak here. I don't know what's wrong. You can speak still. Yeah, I guess they see us just not on the screen. We can still speak. Yes. You can still speak.
So the tourism industry, as this government in Uzbekistan introduced non-visa regime to all the Canadians who are currently free to travel to my home country. I would appreciate it if those who are in charge of tourism and hospitality industry here in Canada just to at least start advertising. So that part of the world, so the country known as Uzbekistan, that's very popular, in particular among Americans. As you may know, just prior to the pandemic, so the number of foreigners whom we hosted in Uzbekistan actually quadrupled. Comparing to what we used to have in 2016, less than 2 million people, and this number increased up to almost 7.5. So in these terms, people here in Canada who are just looking for new destinations to explore, to discover, will be very much welcome to come. And beside that, again, regarding those Muslim minorities, people who are living in Canada, people I believe who are well aware of that Uzbekistan is a home for at least 4 UNESCO World Heritage listed sites. And these cities are pretty well known globally, and why actually Uzbekistan is becoming a very attractive destination to visit. And as you may know, just prior to the pandemic in 2019, the United States New York Times so placed Uzbekistan among those 52 nations across the globe that should be visited by every single reader of this newspaper. Again, it means that this country is pretty safe despite our tough neighborhood, and it was also acknowledged by other rankings in particular the State Department so considers Uzbekistan is very safe for travelers from the United States. One more point that I would like to address to you, again, back to the agriculture. I'm not sure whether you are representing the potash industry here. So as the entire agriculture is being privatized, so the need for fertilizers is increasing in the country. So, and of course, the government, as I said, is no longer involved in promoting the products produced by the state-owned companies. Now our farmers, agriculture industries are free to choose the product that the world market might offer to them. And in this regard, I believe, I know well that the potash Canada industry that is based here is well known of its pretty well so qualified so products across the globe. So in these terms, so the potash industry that might be placed in particular in Uzbekistan, or I mean the product itself might be imported to the Uzbekistan market. So might be another opportunity just to, again, to fill that gap I mentioned, the gaps that appeared in our bilateral trade. The difference is very huge, 14 million comparing to more than 140. In this regard, so any thoughts or proposals that these kind of companies here in Canada might offer to us, so will be very much appreciated, and actually go in line with our own priorities, again, to diversify the supplies of raw materials so that we will be able to produce value-added goods, in particular these fertilizers that are highly needed and required by the Uzbekistani farmers.
Yes, I guess we are very close to closing remarks. 1 minute left, and
yes, exactly. And I know that Ambassador's time is very precious, and so we will close. I just want to say thank you very much to everyone. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for giving us so much of your valuable time. And what I can get from this is that there is definitely going to need a follow-up of some sort, because there's quite a lot of companies, quite a lot of areas that would need fleshing out. And I know you said the embassy stands by to help. So my suggestion, just from me, would be that Marina and team, you get together to set up meetings with the embassy, and then we can capitalize the next time the ambassador is in town. I'd like to pass to Gilles Breton, who is the CERBA National Board Chairman, for his final thoughts. Gilles.
Thank you very much, Michelle, for your work and everything that you've done to make this meeting. And thank you as well to Ambassador Vakhabov. Listening to all these presentations, of course, I was reminded of the fact that, there is an appetite for trade between Uzbekistan and Canada. But of course, here we have to acknowledge that we need to nurture that trade. And every, stakeholder and participant needs to sort of get involved. I see, for instance, we have my old-time colleague Marina who's also on the line, who is our agricultural export specialist. So I think it's very important that we do this, that our collective, so to speak, should work together. My suggestion to the ambassador is that following all our discussions and what you just said, Michelle, I think we don't have a Canada-Uzbekistan Trade Council yet, but I think we should think about doing some very specific working groups. The next event we have on the horizon is the PDAC meeting in Toronto in March. I think it's very important that we should try to organize what I would call a working group in the context of that event. And of course, also, I think it's high time that we should have perhaps a working group on information technology and a working group on agriculture. So I think, even though we don't have a formal entity that's, as a chapeau, or if you want to cover for all these things, I think we're ready to move into the certain format of working groups, trying to also, I think it's very important from the comments I've seen also that we can, through these working groups, recruit more participants. So I pass this over to you, Ambassador Vakhabov, as a suggestion. We should be thinking about how we can create these strategic working groups to help promote our trade better, if you want. So I would like to have your reaction to that, if at all possible.
So, Gilles, actually, it makes sense to have a separate and substantive discussions on every particular matters that we've touched upon today, and in particular covering agriculture. So mining sector, of course, might go separately as well, so that we might have more, I would say, discussions with some tangible outcomes.
Yes.
So very straightforward conversation, very substantive discussions that stand ready to launch these kind of working groups, as we do have an MOU between CERBA and the embassy in Washington, D.C. So we actually might expand our collaboration by launching this kind of working group, just dividing our tasks in particular cases, so that we might have, again, as I said, very substantive talk.
Okay.
In these terms, actually support the idea itself. Again, it does make sense.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, the mot de la fin, the final word to.
I will also mention, just we had representatives from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Francophonie of Quebec. There were 2 people, and they have also a proposal for you. We will be discussing later.
Okay, so thank you very much to all. Looking forward to our next meeting in the near future.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Oh, sorry, Margaret. Yes. Margaret Koch, you did not have a chance to say a word. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. I will be short, Ambassador. We know each other. I have been in and out of Uzbekistan since 1991, when I spent 4 years at our embassy in Moscow and then later on in Central Asia as ambassador. I want to say that in the last 5 years, the progress in reform has been amazing. And I congratulate you on that. I must say, in terms of the religions, I see synagogues, mosques, and Christian churches all together. The tourism industry you mentioned is very important. The Tourism Commission is in Ottawa. I've been talking to them about, when COVID is over, about Silk Road tours, because that's very important. You mentioned the veterinary certificates. In fact, one of the things that we need to approach Agriculture Canada on is an MOU on phyto and zoosanitary agreements. So that would allow both agriculture, food products, feed products, animals, and genetics. In terms of livestock, everybody online understands that we have, instead of shipping animals, we also have genetics. Sometimes that is a more effective way of increasing production. You said dairy, so milk production and then value added. The other thing is, and I hope nobody in Waterloo is online, but Ottawa IT sector has taken over the Waterloo sector in terms of the high tech. We are called in Ottawa Silicon Valley North. So the next time you come to Ottawa, I will arrange with my colleagues, a meeting with the lawyers and with the Silicon Valley North, as we're called, because I think that's very important. The gentleman who presented on from Positron, that's very important, because one of the things that Canada did long ago was release more bandwidth from military bandwidth. So we have a lot of bandwidth in civilian use, plus satellites. And I want to remind everybody that Uzbek Air was the first airline that had direct flights to North America. Okay, so they went to New York, and then you had to get to Canada. Nonetheless, it was the first transatlantic direct flight. They didn't have to stop in the middle of the ocean or in Spain for refueling. It was lovely. But the last 5 years have been amazing. I congratulate you. And there are many contacts here, plus the ones that you've heard today. Thank you very much for your opportunity.